On February 16, 2023, all the news portals of the country were bursting with the news of the brutal murder of a family of 3 people in one of the districts of Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan. Some shocking scenes of the murder were revealed to the public and they were horrifying. What was it? A cold-blooded murder that was planned in advance, or a crime committed impulsively? Hello everyone and welcome back to the room where even walls have ears. Thank you very much if you clicked on this video, and I hope you will enjoy this video as well. Today we are gonna visit Kyrgyzstan, the very country where everything happened. This story is filled with hatred, with cruelty, and with indifference of other people. And if you are interested in it, and if you want to know more about it, stay tuned. And without further ado, let's get started. Kyrgyzstan is a country located in Central Asia and surrounded by such countries as Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and China. It is one of the most beautiful countries not only in that region, but also in the entire world. Its landscape is stunning. 94% of the country is covered by mountains, which means there are a lot of opportunities for hiking, alpinism, and trekking. Glaciers cover the tops of Tian Shan mountains, and wide valleys cover the hillsides. In one word, the landscape of Kyrgyzstan varies from long rivers to glaciated mountains. It is not a coincidence that Kyrgyzstan is called Asian Switzerland, and today's story happened in such a paradise. Generally, we think that people who surround us are good enough and we feel safe and sound around them. However, you don't really know what people are really thinking about. Unfortunately, statistically, most of the murder cases are committed by people who are somehow related to victims. According to research conducted by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, quote unquote, a total of 87,000 women were intentionally killed in 2017. More than half of them, which makes about 58%, and which makes 50,000 were killed by intimate partners or family members, meaning that 137 women across the world are killed by a member of their own family every single day. More than a third, which makes about 30,000 of women intentionally killed in 2017, were killed by their current or former intimate partner, someone they would normally expect to trust. And our today's story is about one of them. The triple murder that happened in Bishkek, capital of Kyrgyzstan, shattered the entire nation. Sometimes we think that nothing can astonish or surprise us, but the brutality and cruelty with which this murder was committed are beyond one could fathom. Moreover, the main paradox of this story is that this murder was committed by someone who was a former member of the State Committee for National Security. On February 16, 2023, which means recently, 3 bodies, a middle-aged woman, a young 18-year-old woman, and an 8-year-old boy, were discovered in one of the apartments in one of the districts of Bishkek. As revealed later, they were Toktosheva Altanay, the mother, Toktosheva Saikal, the daughter, and the Toktoshev Salim, the son. All of them were brutally killed and their bodies were left in the flat, where later the same day they were discovered by police officers. After the police investigation, it was revealed that the mother, Altanay, was stabbed and killed with a knife. Her daughter, Saikal, was stabbed with a knife and later drowned in the bathtub. On the murder day, Saikal, the daughter, was trying to protect her mother from a crazy man and started to protest him. So he started stabbing her and eventually Saikal lost her consciousness. Mother, enraged, tried to reason with the murderer, but he ruthlessly butchered her. Later, Saikal came to consciousness and trying to run away from the murderer, jumped from the 4th floor. But the murderer ruthlessly dragged her back home, where stabbed her again and later drowned in the bath. The little boy was strangled too, and his body was laying on the couch. So the main question is, what happened that day, and most importantly, who was that soulless demon, a rich soulless demon who committed this crime? Before we proceed with the case, let me actually give you some information about the victims. Even though I couldn't find a lot of it, there were some pieces that I could dig up throughout the social media. So, who were the victims? Toktosheva Altanay was born on October 5th, 1972. On the day she was killed, she was 49 years old. According to some articles published on national websites and her photos with family members on her social media accounts, the woman worked in the banking sector, preferred an active lifestyle, and used to do a lot of charity work. She met her own murderer near one of the most beautiful places in Kyrgyzstan, Isyk-Kul Lake. Toktoshev Solkanai was born on September 24th, 2005. She was a 17-year-old, very attractive young woman whose life was ruthlessly ended by a mentally ill bastard, and all her dreams and endeavors just vanished into oblivion. She was majoring in the design of architectural environments and one of the national colleges. She, like her mother, enjoyed her life having an active lifestyle. Finally, the third victim was Toktoshev Salim. Unfortunately, there isn't much information about him. Only his name and birth year, which was 2014, were revealed to the public. It is also known that he was the only witness of everything, so the murderer ended his life to get rid of all possible evidence. The fourth character of this story, or so-called the main hero of this story, is Ashraliyev Chintemir. So who was Chintemir? He was born on the 3rd November 1986 in the Botken district of Kyrgyzstan. In 2012, he graduated from the Faculty of Law of the Kyrgyz State Law Academy, and in 2017, graduated from the Academy of Public Administration under the President. So you understand that he was pretty successful and established young man, but you never know who has a skeleton in the closet until you find it. From 2004 to 2006, he served in the National Guard and then used to work for the State Committee for National Security for 15 years, starting from 2006 to 2021. He completed special training in Turkey in 2014 and even participated in the elections in the Batken constituency in 2021 and managed to take the second place. He is a master of sports in hand-to-hand combat, the silver medalist of the World Championship in hand-to-hand combat, and is good at the sports. Thus, you may presume that he is a strong and healthy man and he can beat absolutely anyone, not mentioning women. After mentioning all his accomplishments, let's find out who really was Chintemir. The police stated that the murderer, despite having his own family, wife, and 3 children, had intimate relations with Altanay. And the son of Altanay, Salim, was actually general son of Chintemir and Altanay. Yes, you got it right. It means that the father killed and strangled his own son, his own offspring. Crazy, isn't it? Now let's go back to the horrifying day when everything happened. On February 16, 2023, according to neighbors' testimonies, neither noise nor screams were heard till 4 in the morning. A neighbor living 1 floor down started hearing some screams and fight noise at around 4:25 a.m., but he assumed that people might have a party and were just having fun and drinking. No one else except the neighbor living on the 3rd floor heard anything. However, a lot of people accuse neighbors of their indifference to the murder, claiming that it is impossible to hear absolutely nothing when another human being is being butchered behind the wall. To be honest with you, I totally agree with them, and I think that it is impossible to hear when someone next door is being stabbed and murdered. After the mother was killed, Chintemir started furiously ending the lives of her children.
The most horrifying moment of the murder was when Altanay's daughter Saikal, who was trying to run away from the murderer, jumped out of the window on the fourth floor and hit a car in front of the building. Those horrifying scenes were caught on CCTV of the building, which the murderer tried to destroy, attempting to get rid of the evidence. The car alarm worked properly, and even so, absolutely no one heard it or helped the family. After Saikal jumped down, Chintamir went downstairs. By the way, you can see how casually he was walking, like he was taking a stroll and not murdering other people. He took the poor girl's body and brought it back to the apartment, where he continued butchering her and eventually drowned in the bathtub. Salim, who was Chintamir's son, was not stabbed with a knife, but only strangled on the sofa.
After he murdered three innocent people, he tried to stage something like a fight between the daughter and the mother, but of course everything was in vain, since all the evidence was obvious and his face was already on the video recordings of CCTV. From the video, you saw that a lot of things happened and it was almost impossible to hear even the slightest noise. And later, the police department shared its own opinion on that point.
Some of the neighbors heard sounds of moving furniture and quarrel. However, they did not pay much attention to it and thus informed the person responsible for building maintenance late. The latter, after coming home from work, looked through the video cameras and in a horrified state informed the district police office. The police and the Minister of Emergency Situations arrived, opened the apartment, and found three corpses in the apartment.
Ashraf Chintamir, who was the main suspect back then, was arrested 2 days later in his own department. He surrendered without any resistance and confessed to the murder of Toktoshevs family. Since this case is relatively a new one, some new information is constantly getting leaked to the social media.
For example, the suspect forced the victim to take out a loan to pay for his campaign. This was told by a close friend of the deceased, so this might also be related to the motive of the murder.
According to her, some disinformation appeared on the media that the detainee will claim that the murdered woman was blackmailing him.
That is a complete lie. She was working in a bank when they met. Then he persuaded her to take out a loan to pay for his election campaign. She had to repay it. He didn't give her money back. She barely paid that amount. She even had to mop the floors. But the woman was very decent and kind. In addition, she was a deeply religious person and would never have gone to such a dirty business as blackmail and extortion.
The investigation is still ongoing, and the first court session took place in July this year. The motive of the murder was proclaimed domestic quarrel, and later a psychological specialist, created a psychological portrait of the murderer. He stated that
the type of men, like the murderer himself, can easily become jealous of their women. I would say unhealthily jealous. They are egoistic and like to feel power. Thus, they expect full obedience. This type of individual is frequently rejected as a man and not perceived seriously. This may lead to horrifying deeds and circumstances, what exactly happened in our case.
But how come the Chintamir who became the intruder and the murderer happened to work in the national defense and defended people? On that point, the veteran of the National Defense Security, Artur Medvedbekov, shared his own opinion.
When the potential members of the State Committee for National Security are selected, they proceed through several steps of total examination. That includes both physical and mental examination in accordance with the government rules. Unfortunately, there were and are some cases when members are chosen after being recommended by someone in the higher ranks or positions, or who have relatives who have immense influence and power. They sometimes avoid general annual medical examinations.
During the court session, the brother of Altanay, who was representing the victims and the entire family, said that he never saw in person Chintamir before the court session. He knew that his sister was dating someone and that they had a shared son, but they never met in real life. Also, he said that he knew nothing about the abusiveness in their relationship. So this is pretty much everything I want to share with you. Should the neighbors be more cautious and vigilant, maybe this family would be alive. I totally agree with you. Actually, there are a couple of factors like the inner circle incompetence or the bribe factor and other things that led to such tragic repercussions. But do not forget that the only culprit here is Chintamir himself, because not a single normal person would end lives of three innocent people, two of whom were minors. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this content, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to share your own opinion, feel free to leave your comments below. Take care of yourselves and see you next time.